guys, welcome to 3 Mississippi. Sid here. Thanks for clicking on the video. We've been living in the South for a little while now, and there has been one thing that I have been dying to see, and I can't believe I finally, not only did I get to see it, but I actually caught it on a film, and it was unbelievable. I cannot believe I actually witnessed it, and I cannot believe I actually get to show you guys. Not only that, but I've got a bunch of little things that I'm going to show you guys today on the farm that I'm putting together. A couple little odds and ends projects. We're getting ready for some new birds that are coming this week. So I got to get that brooder set up and working on a little furniture project that I am staining and putting together as well. So let's get after it. Last week, Mike and I had some alone time, I guess you could say. It was the last full weekend for hunting for deer season out here, and Frankie was going to be gone at D Now, which is a Disciples Now, which is a thing through the church. Normally she would have been out with Mike and helping him, but he got a deer and I was home still cooking dinner, and he needed some help getting the deer in the back of the side-by-side. So he of course called me and he said, hey, throw your muck boots on, meet me out back. I'm coming back out to pick you up in the side-by-side. He had been hunting on our neighbor's property down the road a piece. So he was going to be stopping by to come grab me so I could come help him lug this big doe that he got, beautiful big doe, in the back of the side-by-side. But man, wait till you see what we saw on our way to go get the deer. But instead, we're out in the middle of a field retrieving more venison. not, is one of the most exciting things. I know it may not seem like it to some people, but that was one of the most exciting things for me. We have had this running joke when we go on road trips, when we've driven anywhere in Oklahoma or Arkansas or on our way out here. We count how many dead armadillos we see on the side of the road. The most I've seen on one road trip was 11. That was when we were coming out here, I believe. I had jokingly said, I don't think there's any live armadillos anywhere. I think they're just dead on the side of the road because you never see them alive anywhere. We had caught one briefly on a trail cam, and I jokingly said it was an apparition. It was a ghost of an armadillo. And so to actually see one scurrying about was just absolutely like a dream come true. I was fascinated by it because all I had ever seen was a dead one that I had seen in the creek that we found a skeleton of, and then the dead ones I've seen along the side of the road. So to see a live one just absolutely made my day. After living in the South for over a year and a half now, that was just like, that was it. That was the best thing for me ever. I loved it. I loved it. But now we're going to take a look back at yesterday, where I started staining the project that is the porch swing that Mike got me for Christmas. One of the quintessential things to living in the South is having a front porch. And one of the things that I think is mandatory of having a front porch is having a rocking chair, which we have, and a front porch swing. So Mike got me this for Christmas. It's a front porch swing that's unfinished. You can see it's totally raw wood, and it's all ready to rock and roll. I do need to still assemble it, obviously, but I thought that it might be easier to stain it first, and that way I can stain both sides and all the little nooks and crannies and let it dry while it's nice and sunny, but not too hot, not too cold. You know how stain can be kind of temperamental when it comes to the weather. And get that done this week. It might take me a couple days to actually complete this project because it's going to take time to dry, and then I'm going to put a coating on it to kind of help the stain stay and like further weatherproof it, since it is going to be outside getting beat up a lot of the time. Now it's really bright out here today, so I know it might look a little bit glaring. I am really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really good. You can see kind of the grain of the wood coming through there. Also kind of gives it that you know, scorched old cabin look, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted that dark wood because then I can spice it up with some nice bright pillows on the front porch. I think this is going to look amazing, but it's time to get it actually put together. So it's all put together, guys. All I have to do now is go back and tighten all of the washers on here. I just did everything finger tight to make sure everything fit okay, because you know how sometimes holes don't line up or whatever, but it seems to be very well made. I'm just gonna go back through and tighten everything till it's tight, and that there's no wiggle room. I did it. That was really a two-person job. I did it with one because that's how all my projects like this go. Because I usually don't have Frankie home from school or Mike's busy. So you know how it is, women decide they're going to redecorate the whole entire house and we move all the furniture by ourselves. That's what we do. But let me show you guys. Now I know some of you guys are going to maybe give me a hard time because right now I have it facing like inward towards the porch, and I may switch it later. Right now, I'm going to leave it like this. I feel like even though I know I counted those, I'm going to double check my count on those chain links because I feel like it's off by like 2 links. When we're high, holding, that's good. And it's swinging. It could maybe be a little higher to really, really swing. I was afraid to put it up too high so that I wouldn't be able to get on it, but I'm gonna raise it up a hair higher. A hair higher. The reason I have it facing this way right now is it's winter, obviously, and so while it is pretty in the morning looking out at the sunrise and all of that, I usually sit over here on the couch because Bunko likes to cuddle. But maybe in the summer I'll flip this, or in the spring I'll flip this around so that I can look out. But when we have people over, and we're kind of hanging out here, it's kind of a congregation area, so it's like, you know, people in the chairs and people, and so we're kind of facing this way. So I am kind of conflicted about which way to have the porch wing face. I understand wanting to look out, but when we're hanging out here sitting with people, it kind of makes sense to have it facing this way because you wouldn't want your back to people when we're, you know, on the front porch. So anyway, those of you that are about to give me grief for that, this is why I put it this way. You know, there may be times where I might want to, you know, maybe have Mike help me flip it around. What I might do is like somehow maybe spray paint the chain, the link, so I know what levels are what. I'm going to put some like throw pillows on it. It's actually surprisingly comfortable. See, just something to where you could like sit, but you can still see the wood. But I think it looks really good. I'm happy with it. I finally have my front porch swing. Yay. Okay, now that I'm running out of daylight, it's time to go set up that brooder. Those birds are gonna be here soon. I did get the email and phone call last night that my meat birds, my 50 Cornish cross birds, are shipped out last night. So I'm estimating I will get a phone call Friday morning saying they're at the post office. So that was Tuesday night. That's usually the time frame. I doubt I will get a phone call tomorrow. It's possible. I doubt it. So we'll see. We'll see. But I want to make sure that I have everything set up and the heat plating so that everything is rocking and rolling and good to go. And I am also going to be using one of our VTOman power banks. Here's why. We are expecting another round of potential bad storms in February while the chicks are still in the brooder. And I will have back-to-back chicks in the brooder. So the plan is I will plug that in, and it has a fail-safe. So if the electricity goes out, the power bank kicks on, the heat plates will continue to stay hot while the baby birds are in there. So if the power goes out at 3 a.m. and it's 6 degrees outside, I won't wake up to chicken sickles. So I am going to be setting that up in there. We are in the process of fixing the chest freezer. We had to order a part, so it's kind of out in the middle of the garage right now, which is not ideal, seeing as how I do have to brood the birds in there. But we're going to make it work. We're going to work around it because that's what we do. Let's go. With it being the beginning of February now, that is when I typically like to get them started. My goal this year is to have my last batch of meat birds done and processed out no later than mid-June. So this should give me plenty of time, even if we have some slower growers, to be able to get everybody done. We're doing 2 separate batches of 50, and this first batch of 50 is likely going to be here within the next day or 2. So today, they should be here actually in 2 days, just because I know how the shipping, I've been doing this long enough, I know how the shipping works, so they should be here Friday. Today I'm setting up the brooder. The plan was to brood them outside in the brooder half of the coop. Unfortunately, ran into some snafus with running the power out there. We thought we had a solve. We didn't have a solve. We're still working on that. That's going to be a problem for another video. But today we are going to be setting up the brooder in the garage. So because I didn't want to have to go out and buy yet another stock tank, and the 2 stock tanks I have are in use for water for the horse and the goats and everybody. I actually was on one of those just random Facebook groups. I apologize for the lighting, guys, in the garage. It's not fantastic, but there you have it. And somebody was talking about these little pop-up ones, and I liked the idea of it because the ones that they were talking about had a top, they were netted, because one of the issues that you tend to have as the birds get a little bit older and start to feather out is they want to hop out. Not so much with the meat birds, but definitely when you're doing layers and things like that, they tend to get a little hoppy, So this bad boy should allow us to keep it a little bit more contained, in theory. I've never used one of these before for the animals. I did read a bunch of reviews and people said that it worked really well. We'll see. I do have my kind of curiosities about it as far as how easy it's going to be to clean. So as I mentioned, we are in the process of kind of reorganizing the shop and the garage. So some things are kind of where they're not really normally going to be. So forgive the mess right now. And I'll have Mike link this on our Amazon store for you guys in case you're like, oh, that looks cool, I'd like to try it. It does have little stakes in it that if you were wanting to, you could put it outside for like a playpen for animals, and you can stake it into the ground so it doesn't blow away. But obviously for our purposes, whew, look at that. I just got to figure out which side is which, I suppose. It just kind of pops right out, doesn't it? Let's see. Oh, I see. Okay. fold out. Okay. Gotta. And I suppose if you only needed part of it, you wouldn't have to pull the whole thing out either. But there's little, oh, I see them, there's little tabs that you can reach in here and grab. You guys can see that there's little tabs on the inside. So yeah, if I only wanted to use part of it, I could do that. I did go ahead and get the larger one just because we are doing 50 meat birds. And so I just figured that'd be easier. But as you can see, it's got the netting all the way around, so nice and breathable, but hopefully will help keep some of the dust and dander down as well. So that's kind of exciting. And then it's got these zip tops up here. I mean, that was super easy to set up. It literally just kind of unfolded. So there we go. I wonder, I mean, I could probably shrink this to start. They don't need this much room for 50 chicks to start. So I'm actually going to shrink this down to start like that. There we go. There we go. Now I got it. I'm like, I know it was like folded in itself, but I couldn't get it to go back in. There we go. So yeah, I'm just going to fold that side back in. And now I just shrunk it by half. Look at that. I basically just folded this back up, and then this can just, I mean, this doesn't have to be perfect, but I mean, you could probably figure out a way to make it sit better, but look at that. And then now it's shrunk by half. I think that's kind of awesome. So yeah, to start, for sure. I mean, meat birds do grow fast, but for the first 2 weeks, you really don't need all that much room. And the more you can kind of keep them a little bit contained, the better. Now it is a little floppy on the edges, but I think once I get the bedding in there, it's going to be better. Now I just use regular pine shavings when I'm brooding birds because I don't want any moisture with the baby birds. You know, usually in my coop, you guys may have heard me talk about, I use the compressed pine horse bedding pellets where you spray them down and you let them kind of fluff up. I don't use those with the chicks because you started out with moisture, which yes, it dries out and it's absorbed, but with the birds, when they're young like this, they're so susceptible to everything. I would not recommend using that for them. A lot of people don't even like using pine shavings for them. Most people do use them, but I know a few people that prefer just using paper towels or, believe it or not, I don't go that route. This is much finer than I'm used to. This is very dusty. Yeah, micro flakes they're calling this. But all right, that's what we're using. I'm used to much larger flakes. We're gonna dump a little bit of it in. I'm gonna hope we don't get it everywhere. Brooding birds can be really messy, guys. This is just something to be aware of. You know, the meat birds will only be in the brooder for between 4 and 5 weeks. I've had some batches that I've had to keep in the brooder for about 6 weeks due to a couple of things. Sometimes you get a batch that's just a slow growing batch. Sometimes you get a batch that, you know, you maybe didn't time it right and you get like a real bad winter storm and you're like, gee, I don't want to put them out for their first weekend or their first day outside when it's, you know, torrential downpour and really, really cold. So these things happen and that's okay. It's, you know, it's not going to hurt them to be in the brooder a little bit longer, just kind of prolongs the process. But if you're able to time it right and you get a good batch that grows on target, you should be able to put them out to pasture or out into your coop. You know, we tractor our birds on pasture. Should be able to do that at the 4-week mark, which these guys are going to have to move at the 4-week mark because we do have another batch coming in a month for our second 50 batch. So I should have it timed right if everybody grows the way they're supposed to and everything goes according to plan, which we know these things never do. But if everything goes according to plan, this should work out perfectly. Well, like I said, I've got my heat plate here. Of course, I'm going to start it out down lower because the birds are going to be smaller. I do have it plugged into my VTO man. We did a video on that. about a week ago, I believe. This is going to be my backup power supply. I like to tilt the legs on my brood. Oh, I guess I could have gone through that window, but well, this works too. I like to, there's another window on the side. I guess I could have put it through. I do like to tilt my brooder back so that it's angled, so that the birds can kind of decide, you know, some of the birds grow at different rates, especially if you've got, you know, mixed boys and girls. You can have some that want to be colder and some that want to be a little warmer. They can go towards the back of it when it's tipped at a little bit of an angle. I'm not talking like this, but just a little bit so that they can kind of do what they want. If I notice that they're really crowding under there as they're, you know, growing after that first week, I may add a second hot plate just to give them more room. But for now, I think for the amount of birds that I have, I think the one should do it. So I do have their water here. I don't know if you can see the orange stuff in the bottom there. I did add their vitamin mix to this already. I do like to give this vitamin mix to my birds if they look a little under the weather, especially like if I've had to separate a bird because it's been injured or it's not acting right. It looks like maybe it's sick. And to chicks just starting out, especially if they've been shipped, because they're a little frazzled generally when they first get shipped. So I like to do that. And then I always, you know, remember to put something underneath it so it kind of boosts it up a little bit so that, you know, they're not kicking in the bedding so that it's not getting wet and they're able to still access it and drink okay. And of course, besides their heat and their water, you're going to need food for them. So I've got their little feeder tray here that I'm going to be putting in there, and then they're going to be set to go. I usually have to change out, add, subtract, clean some bedding a few times throughout their duration in there. Usually with the brooder, you can, with the birds, especially if you're going to be rotating them out quickly, you can get away with kind of just adding some new bedding unless it gets wet or something like that. But for the most part, you can kind of get away with just, you know, adding it and then cleaning it out at the end. Once they start to get a little bit bigger and really start pooping it up, I will expand this out fully and, you know, let them have more room, and I can always shove them to the other side and kind of clean it out. So that'll make it a little bit easier, and then I'll be like starting fresh kind of at the halfway point. So I think I may do that, but this will be good to get them started. You guys hear that chirping? They're here. The birds are here. And of course I used my truck seat warmer to keep them warm on the ride home. Let's throw them in the brooder. The one thing I will say about Cornish cross meat chickens is I never have to show them where the water is. They always figure it out right away. These guys went right away, figured out the food situation right away under the hot plate. They're figuring it out pretty quick. A couple of these guys still, even though I have this lifted up, still have managed to climb into the water. Might have to raise it up even higher. I'll find another little block of wood to stick under there. That's the start of spring, y'all. So I am ready for spring with those birds. I cannot wait. That is like the first sign of spring and summer coming, and everything is going to start blooming and happening. I know we are not out of winter yet. I know we are going to have several more freezes and frosts and maybe one more bad winter storm they're predicting as far as another ice storm goes down here, but that's okay. This gives me hope. I've got my little backup power bank thing over there, so if the power does go off because we have a storm, that's going to keep my birds from becoming chick sickles, and it won't matter. They'll be covered. I got my Christmas present from Mike all stained and put together and hung up and ready to rock and roll for spring and summer. I'm excited about that. I'm sure I could drink a cup of cocoa on it or something too as well, and it's ready to go. So that was amazing. And we got another deer in the freezer right under the wire there at the last minute. Mike managed to get a few deer in the freezer before deer season was over this year. Frankie unfortunately didn't get any deer this year. She didn't get to go out hunting that often, and then the one time that she did get to go out, the deer was a little further out of her comfort zone. It was about 200 yards away, and she just was a little nervous that she couldn't make that shot, so she didn't want to risk it and risk wounding the animal and not having a clean kill. So kudos to her for not gambling on that, in my opinion. There's always next year, and next year maybe I'll go out and deer hunt a bit. We'll see. That's if I can get the practice in on the rifle. I can finally check off of my bucket list seeing a live armadillo. I was so excited. I couldn't even believe it. So we got armadillos, we got chickens, we got porch swings, and we got deer hunting. It doesn't get more southern than that. I hope you all have a blessed rest of your day. And as always, guys, safety's off.